Alright, just had to play Tennessee Jet by Grateful Dead off of Europe 72. But probably one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's not too hard to play. So it's broken down to intro, verse, and then there's like a middle bridge in between the verse and the chorus. And then it's chorus, verse, same thing. So standard tuning, no capo needed. I'm gonna show you how to play the main riff first, just because it's the same in the intro. Yeah, so what you wanna do, third string, 7th fret. You want to bend up all the way as if you're playing the 9th fret. So you would go. Then, when you have it bended up, you want to pluck the string again, but put it back down to a resting position. So it's like if you're sliding from 7 to 9 and then back to 7. Then you hit 5th fret of the 3rd string, then 7th fret of the 4th string, back to 5th fret on the 5th string, 7th fret of the 5th string, back to the 5th fret, and then end on the 3rd fret. So slowly it goes. Now for this part where you go from 5 to 7 on the 5th fret, I like to do a hammer on and then back down to the 3rd fret. So I would go. So that's like the main riff. I'll go ahead and play it normal speed. Okay. Now that's the main riff. For the intro, you're gonna play that main riff, but when you get back to here, what you wanna do is slide from 3rd fret to 5th fret on the 6th string, and then hit the 3rd fret of the 5th string. So you would go. And then you're gonna alternate between the 5th fret of the 6th string to the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And then you're gonna slide from 5 to 7 on the 5th string. So you would go. And then you play the same riff all over again. Okay, so I guess that's half of the intro. So up until that point it is. Okay, so once you get back to here, instead of doing this thing again, you're kind of doing the same thing, but this time on the 3rd and 4th string. So you're gonna go 5th fret of the 3rd string, 7th fret of the 4th string. And then you're gonna bend up from 7 up to the 9, kind of like that intro riff. And then you're gonna play the intro riff from there. So you would go. Okay? And then once you're back here, instead of doing that again up here, all you're gonna do from here is just play the intro riff again. So the second half of the intro is okay. So I'll go ahead and attempt to play the entire intro right now. Okay, now this is closest to the Europe 72 version. I know, like, pretty much every single time you play it, it's going to be different, so you can kind of do whatever you want. I'm just showing you, how the standard Europe 72 version sounds. Okay, so that's the intro. Verse 1, super easy. Starts with the C chord. Now, since you end here, kinda, what you can do is just do a C chord here, C bar chord. Pull down shackles, ball and chain. riff. Okay, super easy. Next chord, you're gonna do F. Listen to the whistle of the... When he says evening, you're gonna slide up to G. Evening. And when he says train, you're gonna go back to C. Train. So you would go, listen to the whistle of the evening train. Not too bad. Now this part's a little tricky in terms of timing, but you go back to C, but instead of playing C like this, you're gonna play it like normal here. You're gonna go from C to C7, which is like putting your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. And then you're gonna do a D minor 7. So it's barring on the 1st and 2nd string, 1st fret, and then your middle finger is gonna be on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And then you're gonna end on a C chord. So you go C, C7, D minor 7, back to C. Know you bound to wind up dead. Then you kind of do the same thing as earlier, F to G to C. If you don't head back to Tennessee, Jet. Okay, so that's pretty much half of the verse. Second half is played the exact same way. You're just gonna start again with that C. You do the F, G, C thing, the C, C7, D minor 7, C, and end on the F to G to C. Now, if you don't want to do this riff in between every line, what you can also do is just go from C to G back to C. Now, in your head, you're gonna kind of have to imagine like the riff going on so you can know, when to change the chords. So I'll show you really quick. It would go something like bum ba-dum bum bum ba-da-bum bum, something like that, instead of doing the riff. Okay, so all together, first verse goes, I guess, yeah, I'll do the first. Cold and shackles, ball and chain. Listen to the whistle of the evening train. Know you're bound to wind up dead. You don't head back to Tennessee, Jet. Rich man, step on my poor head. Listen to the melody of my breath. Well, you know, people, it's like I said, you better head back to Tennessee, Jet. All right, so that's the first verse. Now, in between the verse and the chorus, there's like a kind of middle bridge section that connects the two. It's pretty easy too. So what you want to do is like a B flat. So like that C I showed you earlier, exact same shape, but down 2 frets. So you're starting this bar on the 1st fret, and then the other bar is going to be on the 3rd fret. So you would go to F, to G, to C. So you would go. So like up to real speed, it would sound like. And then you go into the chorus. Chorus is also pretty easy. It's an F. Tennessee, Tennessee. To C. There ain't no place to G. Finally, you end it with C to G to F, C to G to F. So you would go, baby, won't you carry me back to Tennessee? Okay, and that's the whole chorus. So I'll go ahead and play it all the way. Tennessee, Tennessee, sorry. Tennessee, Tennessee, there ain't no place I'd rather be. Baby, won't you carry me back to Tennessee? Okay, so yeah, man, that's pretty much the entire thing. I'll go and attempt to play the intro, verse, that bridge into chorus, and then I guess a little bit into verse 2. All right. Cold iron shackles, ball and chain. Listen to the whistle of the evening train. You know you're bound to wind up dead. You don't head back to the Tennessee jet. Rich man, step on my poor head. When you get back, you better butter my bread. Well, you know, people, it's like I said, you better head back to the Tennessee jet. Tennessee, Tennessee, there ain't no place I'd rather be. Baby, won't you carry me back to Tennessee? Rich man. Okay, that's pretty much it. One more thing, I guess he does this a lot, but he likes to do some pinch harmonics. I like them. I know some people don't, especially when like Jerry's not really hitting him. But especially for this next line in the second verse, he goes, drink all day and rock all night. He really does emphasize that intro riff. So you would go. So you do something like that, or you do some pinch harmonics. You go like. I can't get the pinch harmonics either, but that's pretty much the whole entire thing. Hopefully that was enough to go off of, and yeah, see you in the next one.